Welcome to this session on getting started with Service Studio. What is Service Studio? Service Studio is the low-code visual development environment that is the IDE for OutSystems. Service Studio allows developers to create applications and modules on the server, and inside those modules, define the data structures that will be needed by the app, as well as creating the look and feel and user interfaces for the web and mobile applications. That can include both the HTML and the CSS that is needed for those interfaces. We can also define the business logic needed by applications and even larger business processes that will help support those applications. So we can create the applications and then edit, update, publish, view, and debug them on the server. So to get started with Service Studio, we simply need to download the executable from the OutSystems website. From there, it's a simple one-click install to get the Service Studio development environment up and running. Once it's up and running, we do have to connect to an environment or server. This server can be in the cloud or can be an on-premise server in our data center. All we need is a user ID and password that has access to connect to the server. The reason we mention connecting to the server is because if you remember, Service Studio is a development environment, but it is a client that has the capability of describing the application and then publishing it to the platform server. The OutSystems server itself is what actually generates and compiles the code and then deploys the application to a real application server like IIS. So Service Studio is a client to the server. Service Studio won't be able to run the application locally. It will only be able to push it to the server, and then it will be able to view and debug and interact with it as long as it can connect to the server. Once we begin working in Service Studio and we've connected to the server, it will give us the list of all of the applications that are in the server. It gives us hints as to whether it's a web application or a mobile application. And besides opening these applications, we have the capability of creating new applications and installing existing applications or components from the OutSystems Forge. Typically, we'll open one of our applications and begin working on it. When we open the application, we actually get a description of that application, and we get a list of the modules that exist in that application. Besides the local modules for that application, we can also see any other modules that are dependencies that might be included from other applications. We can also see that there is a Native Platforms tab. For mobile applications, this Native Platforms tab allows us to generate the iOS or Android package and be able to create the native mobile app. Once we're ready to go ahead and work on this application, we need to open one of the modules in the list to be able to see the low-code representation of what's there. Once we do that, a new tab opens, which is the Workspace tab. The Workspace tab shows us the different layers of the application and the tools that are available for us to work in this. We can see the tree of different elements that are available, see things in the editor, and then be able to work with some of the tools that are available. We have a true change capability that's constantly making sure our application is valid, and because we're logged into the server, it's helpful to know which user we're logged in as and which server we're actually connected to. If we wish to go ahead and change servers, it's as simply as clicking on the server or going to the module menu, and in the module menu, we can switch environments and move to a different server. We just have to specify the new URL to get to the new environment, and then provide either the same or a different user ID and password, depending on how we can get in to that environment. Besides the Environment tab and the Application and Modules tab, there's also the OutSystems Forge tab. We mentioned the OutSystems Forge earlier, where the Forge has components that we can download. It has different components for mobile and web applications, and we can search for those different components to try to find what we're looking for. Each component has a short description and an icon, and we get information about how well it's been rated by other users, how many times it's been downloaded, whether or not it's a featured component at the moment, and if it's officially OutSystems supported or not. So the Forge gives us a way to quickly bring in new resources and help us accelerate our development. So that's it for getting started with Service Studio. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.